What's going on, family? This is Scrapbook Boxing, the Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series. I want to take a look at an Italian lightweight champion by the name of Paddy Demarco. Paddy Demarco would become lightweight champion on March 5th, 1954, with a 15-round upset decision in Madison Square Garden over Jimmy Carter. Paddy Demarco was born in 1928 in Brooklyn, New York. Let's take a look at his career. Now, after turning professional at the age of 17, after a few fights, Paddy Demarco would win a world lightweight title by upsetting Jimmy Carter at Madison Square Garden in 15 rounds in New York on March 5th, 1954. He would fight great fights with fighters such as Billy Graham, Armand Savio, Orlando Zulueta, Ralph Dupas, Teddy Red Top Davis, Johnny Gonzalez, Sandy Sadler, and Eddie Chavez, all fascinating fighters and champions. He was stopped by James Carter in San Francisco in the 15th round on November 17, 1954. Now, Pat Demarco, born February 10, 1928, Brooklyn, New York, managed by Jimmy Dixon and Cy Crispy. He began his professional career in 1945 and was placed on a card on March 20th against a fighter by the name of Sal Cellino in Jersey City, New Jersey, and he won a 4-round decision. On May 9th, he would face Jimmy Gauss, Jersey City, New Jersey, and knock him out in 4 rounds. On June 18th, he would face Al Victoria in Newark, New Jersey, and he would stop him in 1 round. July 9th, Oscar Williams, Newark, New Jersey, defeat him in 6 rounds. September 25th, Jimmy Mason, Jersey City, New Jersey, knock him out in 4 rounds. October 1st, he would face Butch Charles in Newark, New Jersey, and he would lose to him in 6 rounds. But November 13th, he would face Jose Fernandez in Jersey City, New Jersey, and win once again a 6-round decision. 1946, February 16th, he would face Marty Bell in Brooklyn, New York, and he would stop him in 4 rounds. On March 2nd, Everett Chapman, Brooklyn, New York, he would win a 4-round decision. On March 12th, he would face Johnny Phillips in Brooklyn, New York, and defeat him in 6 rounds. On March 30th, he would face Gunnar Larkin. Gunnar Larson was a very good fighter in Brooklyn, New York, and he would defeat him in 6 rounds. April 11th, Zach Taylor, New Brunswick, New Jersey, would defeat him in 6 rounds. He would go on continue having victories. He would lose to Gabby Furlan in Brooklyn, and he would lose to him in 6 rounds on June 28th. After a few more fights, the year ended, and he would have his first fight on January 17th in 1947 against a fighter by the name of Joe Holmes, New York City, defeat him in 6 rounds. February 18th, Pedro Bisaca, Brooklyn, New York, defeat him in 8 rounds. And this would continue. All victories, 2 knockouts. A knockout in July 24th over Jimmy Warren in Brooklyn. He would knock him out in 6 rounds. And December 8th, he would face Joey Carquito in New York City and knock him out in 7 rounds. 1948, January 20th, he would face Roy Andrews in New York City and defeat him in 8 rounds. January 30th, he would face Terry Young, New York City, and defeat him in 8 rounds. Now, Terry Young was a very good New Jersey fighter. Very good fighter. He was out there with Ike Williams. April 2nd, he would face Terry Young again in New York City and defeat him this time in 10 rounds. September 10th, Willie Pep, New York City. He would lose to Willie Pep in 10 rounds. On October 14th, Paulie Jackson, New York City, defeat him in 8 rounds. November 1st, Bernie Bernard, Brooklyn, New York, defeat him in 8 rounds. I wanted to show you Eddie Bernard. Bernie Bernard, excuse me. This is Bernie Bernard. Bernie Bernard was a very good fighter from the Lower East Side. As you can see here, his manager was Customato. But he was a very, very good fighter. He faced Paddy Demarco. So Bernie Bernard, November 1st, Brooklyn. Paddy Demarcos defeated him in 8 rounds. 1949, February 2nd, Humberto Silveira, New York, defeated him in 10 rounds. February 21st, Chuck Burden, Trenton, New Jersey. Paddy Demarcos defeated him in 8 rounds. March 8th, Billy Graham, New York. Paddy Demarcos would defeat him in 10 rounds. March 14th, Jimmy Collins, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He'd be defeated in 10 rounds. April 11th, Chuck Burden. Paddy Demarcos would defeat him in 10 rounds. June 6th, Clem Cluster, Brooklyn, New York. He would be defeated in 8 rounds. On October 28th, he would face Sandy Saller in New York and be stopped in 9 rounds. Now, I did a profile on Sandy Saller, and you saw the knockout streaks of Sandy Saller. That's why Paddy Demarcos was knocked out in 9 rounds. December 22nd, Teddy Red Top Davis, Brooklyn, New York. He would defeat Teddy Red Top Davis in 8 rounds. Let me show you Teddy Red Top Davis. It's Teddy Red Top Davis. Fascinating fighter. Really, really strong lightweight. Paddy Demarcos defeated Teddy Red Top Davis. Davis fought Sandy Saller, Willie Pepper among others, but he was a very good fighter. So he would face Teddy Red Top Davis in Brooklyn, defeat him in 8 rounds on December 22nd, 1949. 1950, February 1st, he would face Orlando Zulueta in New York and defeat him in 10 rounds. Orlando Zulueta was a good Cuban fighter. April 3rd, Gabby Lewis, another good fighter. He was a younger brother of Joe Louis. First round knockout opponent, great light heavyweight champion, John Henry Lewis. He was a very good fighter. Newark, New Jersey. He would lose to Paddy Demarcos in 8 rounds. And this would continue. Paddy Demarcos, he was a very good fighter. June 5th, Ruben Davis, Brooklyn, New York. He would defeat him in 8 rounds. June 22nd, Ray Edwards, New York. Defeat him in 8 rounds. August 2nd, he would face Teddy Red Top Davis again in Newark. Defeat him in, he would actually lose in 10 rounds to Teddy Red Top Davis. Fascinating. Have a few more fights in 1950. 1951, April 9th, Harry Lassonde. He would defeat him in 10 rounds. May 10th, Jimmy Richmond in Brooklyn, New York. He would knock him out in 3 rounds. June 25th, Arthur King, good fighter, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Defeat him in 10 rounds. August 27th, he would face Sandy Saller again in Milwaukee. And he would defeat Sandy Saller, 10-round decision. Very good feat. September 24th, Eugene Bolanos, Chicago. Defeat him in 10 rounds. Eugene Bolanos is a very good fighter. I think I showed you either his profile or a picture of him. December 7th, Sandy Saller, New York. He would defeat him again in 10 rounds. 1952, January 17th, Eddie Chavez, good Mexican fighter, out of the West Coast, San Francisco. They would have a 4-round draw. April 21st, Johnny Gonzalez, San Francisco. Defeat him in 10 rounds. May 26th, Arthur King in Brooklyn. He would lose to him in 10 rounds. October 27th, Orlando Zulueta, Brooklyn, New York. Lose them in 10 rounds. November 21st, Henry Davis, New York City. Defeat him in 10 rounds. 1953, February 20th. He would face Georgie Alago, New York. He would lose to him in 10 rounds. Very good fighter. March 14th, Henry Davis, Boston. He would defeat him in 10 rounds. All good fighters here. May 16th, Johnny Gonzalez, Boston. He would lose to him in 10 rounds. September 21st, Orlando Zulueta, Brooklyn. He would lose to him in 10 rounds. October 10th, Tony DeMarco, Tony Demarcos was a fascinating puncher. He would have wars with Carmen Basilio. He would lose to him 10 rounds in Boston. December 7th, Carlos Chavez, another good Mexican fighter. West Coast. He would defeat him in 10 rounds in Brooklyn. And he would go ahead and defeat Jimmy Carter and win the lightweight championship of the world. Fascinating fighter, Paddy Demarcos. I want to take a look at that fight, if I can, between Jimmy Carter and Paddy Demarcos. Let me pull out a scrapbook, see if I can find that fight. Fascinating fighter, Paddy Demarcos. Salute to him. Now, I wanted to show you Orlando Zulueta. Orlando Zulueta, like I said, was from Cuba. And he would face some of the good and some of the best lightweights out there. Fascinating fighter, Orlando Zulueta. Let's take a look at Jimmy Carter and Paddy Demarcos. Here you have Jimmy Carter. Fascinating lightweight. Champion of the world. He was a 3-time lightweight champion of the world, Jimmy Carter. So here you have Paddy Demarcos to your left and Jimmy Carter to the right. Carter shooting out a good left jab. Demarcos tried to beat him to the jab, but he wasn't quick enough and got stuffed with the right jab. Left jab of Jimmy Carter, excuse me. And they had their wars. Jimmy Carter would take the lightweight championship away from Jimmy Carter. And Jimmy Carter would regain. So he would lose to Laura Salis. He would lose to Paddy Demarcos. And he would lose to Wallace Bud Smith. Fascinating fighter was Jimmy Carter. And I just wanted to show you a little bit of the fight between Jimmy Carter and Paddy Demarcos. Once again, Paddy Demarcos was a fascinating fighter out of Brooklyn, New York. And I want to take the time to salute Paddy Demarcos. I'm not going to place him in my Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series at this moment. Got to check out his career a little more deeper, but right now I just want to honor him and salute him. This is Scrapbook Boxing, Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series. Just want to honor Paddy Demarcos, lightweight champion of the world in 1954. Salute to my subscribers. One love.